Hello, everyone. Welcome back to International in Groningen, a podcast where we talk all about the ups and downs of life as an international student in Groningen. Last week, we talked about joining a student association. So if you're interested in what that experience is like in Groningen, go check that episode out. And today we're talking about something that I think is at the top of every student's mind when they're moving to a new place, a new country even, to start studying there. And that is, will I be able to make friends and find a community? Here to talk about that with us today is our guest, Savannah. So welcome, Savannah. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So first, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? Why did you come to Groningen? What do you do now?
Yeah, okay, so at the moment, I'm doing the same master's as Sara.
Right.
But I've been here 4 years, studying English. I'm from Zimbabwe. I am 23. I've been here for some time. I think I could say I've spent my 20s here in Groningen.
Yeah.
And it's been okay. It's been cool, yeah.
So you first came here to do your bachelor in English.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did that 3 years, and then you've been now doing the master for about a year.
Yeah.
And the master we're doing is literary studies.
Yes, sorry, just clarify that.
Yeah, no worries. So when you were still in Zimbabwe finishing high school and you decided or you found out you were going to come here to study, what were your feelings or thoughts about how you were going to find a community, make friends? Were you worried? What did you think it would be like to study here?
It was interesting because I think even in my decision in coming here, it was so random. Mm-hmm. I saw an ad on Instagram and
really?
That's how I applied.
Actually, you know what? Me too. I saw a random girl make a TikTok about studying here and I was like, that's where I'm going to go for exchange. And now I still live here.
This is the data they need to see that their TikToks are working. Yeah. I think when I applied and I started telling my friends about it in high school, they were like, oh, I applied to the same university.
Really?
Yeah. We all got in and we ended up coming together. So I think I'm pretty lucky because I came with people that I had known for my whole life, mm-hmm. basically in Zimbabwe. But it was, I guess, kind of branching out from that. In the first couple of weeks, that was really daunting. And I think it's interesting. I never thought about it until I landed here and I was in my student house unpacking my bags and I was like, I don't even know where to go. I didn't even know where the nearest grocery store was it was only when I was here.
It's a
real.
huge change.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So how many of your friends did you come here with, from high school?
Came here with
if you
just 5, 6.
Okay, that's a pretty good amount though.
Yeah. We weren't all in high school together, but we all kind of knew each other. So a lot of people knowing each other, like a network.
Yeah, I think that's actually maybe not common, but I think there is a good amount of people who come here and they know a few people from back home or kind of acquaintances at least. So you were in Groningen, you didn't know where anything was, you knew a few people here and there.
Yeah.
What were those first few weeks like? What did you do and how did you branch out, meet people outside of those friends? Did you hang out a lot with those friends? What was it like?
I think for me, I guess for a lot of people that come in, they're at SSH or that's some kind of student housing and you're going to be surrounded by other people that kind of want the same thing, mm-hmm. or maybe people that are experienced and know what it's like to be here and live here. So I just got to know some of my roommates. It was interesting, I think, especially being from Zimbabwe and now meeting people from Germany, from Poland. I had no impression of any type of European person or culture. And so I think, starting with talking to roommates, actually just leaving the house and figuring out the bus systems and asking questions and going into... It's daunting. It's downloading the Google Translate on your phone and downloading Dutch. Just walking around. I think having my community come with me from home made it a lot easier for me to, I guess, be confident in talking to other people because it didn't feel like it was do or die. I didn't feel an insane amount of pressure to make a friend because I had friends.
You have that little sense of security.
Yeah. So I think that's what kind of made it easier for me to start talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
And then their friends were, everybody was making a friend and bringing them in.
Yeah.
So to kind of grow. Yeah.
I feel in my experience, here, and I didn't do my bachelor's here, but I did it in the US, and it was also like that there. The first few weeks, everybody is so eager to make friends that it's really kind of an easy time to make friends because people are very approachable. People are willing to to talk to you,
Yeah.
which is really nice, but it can also be very overwhelming because you're meeting so many people. And I feel like there's kind of this, also it sometimes happens, like you meet some people in those first few weeks, you hang out with them so much, like you go out with them, and then you, after a few weeks, you never see them again.
Yeah.
Or like you see them around and you're like, oh yeah, that person.
I don't know if you did Kaivik or ESN.
I did do the ESN week when I came for my Erasmus, but I never did Kai week.
Yeah, no, I did both actually. That's something
that's what I
I
wanted
just
to ask
remembered.
you about next,
That was really intense, but it was such a fun way to get involved in what was going on, even to just learn how to walk in these streets, how to navigate and know where to eat. And especially I think those weeks are so perfect because you're surrounded by everybody that wants the exact same thing. I think I do get that now. Like I'm in my 4th year being here, and I see people at like an art market, and I remember them from being in my Kaivik group, and they were like studying at Minerva, and now I'm buying their pottery, and we haven't spoken in 4 years, but it's like I know you, and it's cool, it's nice, and they were my friends for the time that they needed to be my friends. I didn't like stay close with any of the people I did those weeks with, but it was really necessary. It was really helpful at the time.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about the experience of doing Kai Week or ESN Introduction Week for somebody who's like maybe interested in coming and being a student here? Like, what is that experience like?
It's it's a lot of drinking. But I know that, well, I actually have a friend in the ESN board this year, and she's trying to pull away from centering on drinking culture and have more activities. And I think now it looks very fun. Basically, you join and you've got these 2 guides, usually student guides, that they're 2nd year or 3rd year. They are usually very sociable because that's why they sign up to lead a group of strangers. And you kind of have activities lined up throughout the week, and you have your group chat, you hang out at each other's places. Usually I know especially for ESN, your leaders basically host you at their place or somewhere for you all to get to know each other. So you have like introduction dinners. And then that week, like I know especially for ESN, they have a bunch of events, concerts, nights out, fun things going on that you just go to with your group, and you're kind of like in teams. Yeah. So I remember from Kaivik, what do I remember? It was a lot. I think I actually enjoyed Kaivik more in my year, just because of the people I was paired with. Sometimes I think your group leaders, they kind of decide, okay, if this is going to be a fun event, let's all go to it. Or they come up with different things for all of you to do. Yeah. You kind of just see how it plays out when you're all together, but I can guarantee that it's a nice experience. And I think especially it's just the easiest way to start meeting people and like growing a network. Yeah. And a network not in like the LinkedIn sense of network, just friendship networks. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when you're in that situation where you're like, you just got here and you're like, what do I do? Having like that week that you know you're going to have activities every day and like people to hang out with can take away a lot of the like stress, because you're like, okay, at least I know I can go to this and I'll meet somebody there. And then like everybody's kind of in the same spot as you. And the people who are the guides can usually be super helpful with like any questions you have about anything. If you're like, where do I get a bike? Where do I go to do this? Like
most definitely.
They're super helpful and willing to help you with that kind of stuff. So once all of those kind of introduction things were over and you were like settling in, living here, and things calmed down a little bit, like did you stick with your friends from home, your friends that you met in like Kai Week and stuff? Did you meet people in your study program?
Yeah, actually, I know at the RUG, like our study program had a day before classes started where we showed up and we had an introduction session. And you just were forced to chat with people from your course. And obviously, I think when you're studying the same thing, you're going to have a lot of interests in common. So it's perfect. You kind of make your first friends. There's some people I spoke to that I couldn't even pronounce their names. It was very daunting, but then I never actually saw them again, but it was still good. And I was put into a mentor group or something. I think a lot of first year programs have some kind of mentor groups within the classes, and that's how I met my best friend now at the moment.
Oh,
like
nice.
Literally the first person I really spoke to. Yeah. And now we're still close friends. But in terms of like the friends that I came with, I think as the weeks pass and you get very sucked into school. Like you're here for university and you kind of are reminded about that as soon as the classes start. And we just started branching out. We'd still try and do a lot of fun things together, and we would send to each other. And then over time, we started growing better, like not better, but stronger connections with other people. So now, like, I'll say I'm in different friend groups. Some of my friends from back home, Zimbabwe, were actually quite split now. And now, especially now, we're studying in different countries and stuff. But it's changed a lot from when we first came here and we were like this united front. And now I recognize that they have their own stronger friendships, I would argue, than we had when we first got here. But I think I forgot the original question.
No, I don't even remember either. I think we're
it's okay.
What you said made me think about another thing I wanted to talk about, though, which is like obviously friendships change throughout your time in college, and also like in a student city like Groningen, things can be kind of transient. Like a lot of people are coming and going. People might come here just for like a short period to study or do an internship or something, and then you meet them and you're super close, and then they leave again. And like you said, you might come with people from home and then your friendships kind of change. So can you maybe talk about like a little bit about that experience, what that's like?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's such a universal experience, is kind of coming in, making these different friendships, and also people leaving, but also sometimes falling out in these friendships, because I feel like in this period, for me personally, I've changed a lot, and I know the people that have come with me and I've known them for a long time, they've also changed a lot, because it's a defining period in your life. It's not everything in your life, but you're an adult now and you're doing adult things. And so I have experienced like some of my friendships waning and things changing in that way, completely divorcing myself from groups that in the beginning were like the group that I was hanging out every single weekend. And now very dispersed. I think it happens quite naturally, especially now in the master's degree. I have fewer friends, if that makes sense. I think I know a lot more people, but I have fewer groups or fewer people that I really connect with. And I think in first year, if you had asked me who my friends were, now I have a different answer. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things that's going to happen when you are growing and meeting all these different people. And they also kind of leave their mark as well on you.
Yeah, for sure. Did you ever have a time where maybe you did struggle a little bit with like kind of maybe knowing who your friends were, feeling like a little bit lonely? I think that's super, super common being in university.
I think I have this memory. I was speaking about it with my sister as well. That's why it's so fresh, because she's now a first year student at the Hague University. And I was just speaking about these moments I had when I would finish class. I think the most awkward times in class is like in first years when you those breaks, those 15-minute breaks. Yeah. And you have to try and talk to somebody. But like everyone's like on their phone, or like, not everybody's being chatty, but everybody wants to talk to each other. Anyways, but after class, I would have gaps where, okay, I have another lecture in the afternoon, but I don't really have people to spend it with, especially since in the beginning, my friends were people from home, and no one was studying literature. Everyone was studying law or math. So I would sit in Harmony and just sit and like look at people and be like, oh, everybody's looking at me and everybody knows I don't have friends.
No, like, I've totally been there.
It kind of feel like very alienating. And I think at the time I was 19, so there's a lot of a bit of melodrama and mixed into it. But at the same time, I think that's just something you go through and you just continue. I had to pep talk myself, and I had to tell myself, okay, first of all, nobody cares about me that much. Nobody's looking at me right now in the Harmony cafeteria. Secondly, I just have to talk to people. Yeah. And I spoke to some people and I realized, oh, I don't really want to be a friend. But I got to know my classmates better. And then, everybody, because everybody's so eager, you find that as soon as you start like dipping your toe in the pool, like I don't know what metaphor I'm coming up with right now, but as soon as you just start opening yourself to that little bit, people will rush in. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Like everybody maybe kind of comes off like they're not interested, like they're on their, but I think it's just because everybody is shy. It's always the phone.
It's that damn phone.
No, but like everybody's nervous and everybody feels like, oh, everybody's looking at me and thinking that I don't have any friends. But like what you said is so true. Like everybody's worried about themselves. And I feel like in my experience, 99% of the time, if you like put yourself out there and you decide like, okay, I'm just going to ask this person with their name and just try to start talking to them. Usually people
Yeah.
are pretty friendly and super willing to like talk and get to know each other.
Exactly.
And I think when you're in a class with somebody, I think like a number one way you make friends with people just like naturally is just like proximity. Like when you see somebody once a week, if you make an effort to talk to them, eventually just like through being around each other so much, you will develop kind of like a connection. And that's like a really natural way you make friends. I think like that's how we make friends our whole lives and like school and stuff. And that can get harder once you're in university and like after, because you don't see the same people as much of a regular basis. But like if you try to make connections in those kinds of places, I feel like that's really useful.
I think it's definitely the place to start. And I think also joining a committee of some
yes,
sort.
that's what I was going to say next. Did you have any involvement in like clubs or associations and make any friends that way?
I would show up to for our literature. So our literature course has a student association called NUTS. And I would show up to some of the events even though I wasn't really going with anybody. It was like, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to go see. And just be seated there, take it in. And everybody's also there to chat. And especially in the breaks, you're chatting. And I think student associations in this city are super nice. And I've never been in a space, even I've gone to different events and stuff from different faculties or different associations, and I've never felt unwelcome. I've always felt like I can just plant myself here. I'm new. There's people that are established friendships, people that know each other, but there's also people like me that don't know anybody. And that's the space where people prompt you to introduce yourself and prompt you to get involved. So that for me is also a gateway into chatting with people, speed dating friends, potential friends as well. Yeah.
What about like the going out scene? Has that been something that you were kind of into maybe in your first few years? And did you feel like that also kind of contributed to your friendships?
I think it's interesting because I don't think it contributed to my friendships. I think obviously when you get here, and if you do Kaivik or ESN, you're going out, you're going to the clubs, you're introduced into the scene, and it's so much fun. And I think the energy is so good. And then I think for me personally, it's the literature student in me falling into the biases. I'm not a going out at night type of person. So even when I went, I stuck to my friends and stuff. And there were moments where, you have a good interaction with a stranger and you're like, wow, humanity's great. Like, but I think I know for other people that did help them make friends, especially you have these moments where people are so vulnerable on the dance floor. Like you'll make friendships and stuff. I think it just wasn't for me. Yeah.
Have you ever tried anything like Bumble BFF to make friends?
I haven't. Yeah, but my friend has. One of my friends.
Did you have any success?
I don't think she really went through with it. I think she started it and then I think she got busy or something. She didn't go through with it. But I would say honestly, when I did first arrive, I used Tinder a lot. Not for friendship, but it actually ended up turning into a few just friendly interactions. Yeah.
Acquaintances, and then you meet people who know people. And
yeah. I know people have such a stigma about dating apps, and like I understand, if you look to find your love of your life on Tinder or these apps, fair and fine. But I think that you can just meet people actually through these apps and just advertise. I know I've seen some profiles that say, they actually just want to meet people. Yeah. And I know it looks cool. Looks nice.
Yeah, that can definitely be a way if you're someone trying to just meet new people.
Yeah.
We touched on this a little bit, but I wanted to talk about like as you went from your bachelor to your master. I know a lot of people who decide to stay here for their master, sometimes a lot of the people that they've known for 3 years and been studying with leave, and then they're kind of like in the situation where they have to make friends all over again. Did you experience that at all, or what has it kind of been like with people coming and going?
Yeah, I think for me, moving into the master's, it just so happened that I think my closest friends happened to stay in Groningen and just take on the literary masters that we have. But I mean, one of my best friends did move to Belgium and some of my friends, especially Zimbabwean friends, just studied in different countries or also just different cities in the Netherlands. So it was a bit difficult. I think it was hard. There was definitely a point where I felt like, wow, this is adulthood, I guess, because there's that foreboding sense that as soon as now like I'm done with my master's degree and it's a taste of what it's like when you are out in the job world now and people have to go back home. You start to realize, especially for internationals, like we're international. Like none of us have a home in freaking Rotterdam or something that we're going back to. It's going back to the end of the earth. So it was a bit hard, but I think because I happened to have some friends that were still staying here and some friends that are Dutch, it was manageable. I didn't feel too lonely.
Yeah.
But I do know some of my friends, like they had whole friendship groups just disappear. And it's difficult, I think, but at least, you know, when you've been here this long, you still go out, you can still do, you know, your solo adventures, your solo, I guess, dating yourself, where you don't need somebody else to come with you to go sit at a cafe and have a good time. But yeah, it happens. But I think, you know, with the master's degree comes new people. Like I met you this year, you know, last year in the master's.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit different because I feel like in the master's degree, a lot of people, I don't feel that same eagerness or openness that I felt when I was
people
in
are
my
a little
bachelor.
bit more settled in their lives, like depending on who it is. But yeah,
people are so adult, like you know, nobody feels fresh and bubbly in that sense. But it's still you'll still meet new people always. And I think if you are finding yourself stagnated, you can always just go and join an activity, like join the association events or become part of something, join a board. You know, there's so many ways to volunteer and start meeting people actively by force. Really. Yeah.
With what you said about the master's ending soon and like people are going back to all over the world, what do you think about like keeping in touch with your friends after university? Like when you look towards that, what do you think it's going to be like?
To be honest, I don't think about it. But
sorry to bring
No, it's okay. It's a single tear. No, I think like now it would probably be the kind of the routine that I have now with my long distance friends, where just constantly messaging. Well, not constant. We're all quite busy and some people have jobs, but messaging about random stuff. So maybe if we don't have time to call, it's just, I saw a silverfish in my room today. Like it's just the random, the mundane things. But that's how I see my friendships being, where I probably won't feel that we're as close as we've ever been, but I don't think that it's the end of my friendships. I think that it's just, I probably will be somewhere in the world, or they'll be somewhere in the world where they're just in another period of their life. And it's time for them to meet other people, and I kind of served my purpose in their life. If that does mean that our friendship wanes, we served each other's purpose. Well, served a friendship purpose in each other's lives for that period. And we can stay with those happy memories, and you know, we'll continue to meet other people. The doors will open.
What's also super nice though is like if you do maintain friendships and then your long distance friends, is having people to visit in cool countries and places.
Exactly.
Which is really fun.
I think especially now, like I'm meeting a lot of people that are in relationships, and there's this sense, obviously, you know, we want the relationships to work out, and it's like, hopefully I'll get to attend a wedding in Greece. You know, you know, there's so much going on. I think especially at this age, when you have these friendships, I feel like it's very different. Like, you know, when you leave high school, I'm not friends with a lot of people from high school anymore. But from university, when people leave, there's no drama, there's no hassle of it. Like it's just, it feels more. You can stay connected, and the friendship can still feel loving, even though you're not in close proximity with each other.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know what point I was getting to, but I don't know, your friendships, you know, if you're worried that your friendships will change now at this stage, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to get into is, what is it like being an international student specifically in terms of making friends? Because I think if you're a student who's interested in coming here, you might not kind of get the dynamic between international and Dutch people here and how that might affect like who you make friends with. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like, you know, for me, I am friends with international students, and I actually do have a few Dutch friends. But it's funny because it feels like I forget that they're Dutch, if that makes sense. I think a lot of people have this phenomenon where they kind of believe that the nationalities or whatever, like they fall away and dissolve like when you get that close. But I think it really depends on the study you're doing. And I think it really depends on I guess, where you are, which campus you're on, how much internationals and Dutch people integrate. Because there are some courses that are Dutch only.
Yeah.
And usually, it's quite rarely where you find yourself being friends then with these people in these courses because they are together. But I think in our courses where it's integrated, both international and Dutch nationals, it's just other people. You make friends.
Yeah.
I don't think it becomes too much of... I don't really see like insane cultural differences, actually. Maybe the only cultural thing is like when people say, oh, Dutch people are super direct. Then that's the only one where I've actually seen, yes, this is a difference. But yeah, I don't think for me that influenced too much of my experience with friendship making.
Yeah.
There were times when I did feel like, okay, I think language barrier is the only thing. So for that, it depends on the people that you're with. If you're surrounded by people speaking a different language and they're not including you in that space, it's unfortunate. That's just not a space that you can worm yourself into. And that's okay. It does suck. It can feel like a slight against you because it's not nice to be excluded by anything. But you'll find people that accommodate and, you know, maybe you get here and you also start learning the language. Like I've also been learning the language. So I feel like me learning Dutch strengthened my friendships with Dutch people because it's so much fun. For one of my friends, for example, my best friend, she says that she's so much funnier in Dutch. And I need to get to know this version of her that's so much funnier in Dutch. And so it can be exciting, like, I guess, you know, integrating like that. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that. Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to ask is what advice you would give to somebody, a student here or anywhere else, who's struggling to make friends?
I think I would say that, like, you just have to remember that you are a valuable person outside of the friendships that you want, or I think the friendships that you see that you want to have emulated in your own life. I think this is advice that people give when they see someone that's single and really wants a relationship so bad. I think you have to cultivate confidence in yourself and just, I don't know, if you have friends that, you know, you didn't come with, but, you know, you have friends back home, get in contact with them and remind yourself that you are loved. You're not isolated. You got this, you know, you're going to be okay. Friendships and stuff take time. And I think earlier when we were talking about these weeks where you meet people, I felt an insane pressure to be people's best friend. And for me, being my best friend, that's very sacred, you know, like we can't immediately put that label like, yeah, we're like this after I've known you for like 3 days.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, these friendships will take time. So I think if anything, maybe people find that they're making friends, but they're not making the type of friendships that they want, where they want to feel that closeness and that vulnerability.
Yeah.
And that will take a bit of time.
Yeah.
I've seen, for me, there's some people where they feel like they're in friendships where they don't get to be vulnerable, they don't get to talk about themselves and just feel like they're secure. And that's nothing against you, and it's also nothing against the other person that you're friends with. But I guess you have to learn to try and start up those conversations if you want that friendship. You have to start putting in the effort that you want in that friendship to happen, to have that.
Yeah.
And if that's not reciprocated, then that's just not the person for you to have that friendship with.
Right.
So you cultivate that with somebody else.
Yeah. But
back to before, like I was saying, you know, if you find yourself very lonely here, really reconnecting or just connecting back with people that remind you, you made friends before.
Yeah.
You can make them again.
Yeah.
And I think there's also nothing wrong with when you are talking to new friends, expressing the fact that you want a stronger friendship with this person.
Yeah.
Kind of approach it like the friend dating that I was talking about. And see what happens from there with that intention.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything else you want to add or you think we should have touched on?
Okay.
Nope. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you guys for watching or listening. And make sure to tune into our next episode. Bye.